University is often a pivotal time in a young adult's life. They are transitioning from teenager to adult and leaving behind everything they know in order to start a new chapter, hopefully prepare themselves for their future and realize their dreams and potential. But unfortunately, for some, that's just not how life goes. Sometimes those aspirations are taken from them, and their lives are cut short at the hands of another individual. Join us for today's episode as we examine three mysterious unsolved murders of students. Dana Bailey. On March 4th, 1987, 21-year-old Dana Bailey called her parents to let them know that she'd just returned home to State College, Pennsylvania, where she was a student at Pennsylvania University. She had been out of town for a while, visiting her fiancé in Washington, D.C. Her parents, relieved to hear that she was home safe, said goodbye and hung up shortly afterwards. The next day, Dana's mother decided to drop by her daughter's apartment on South Allen Street, but was horrified to find the 21-year-old dead from multiple stab wounds in her second-floor apartment. Dana had been stabbed 6 to 7 times in her left breast, and she was naked, tied up and blindfolded. Authorities believe that she was killed in her bed and then moved where she was posed on top of bedding and sheets spread out across the floor. Her body was visible from her bedroom window. The murder weapon, meanwhile, was established as being a steak knife from Dana's kitchen. It had not been brought in by the killer. Investigators struggled to find leads at first. Dana was well-liked and friendly. She had no known enemies and was happily engaged. But then they discovered that somebody was watching the 21-year-old's apartment from a building that was being remodeled. Inside a room looking into Dana's home, they found shoe prints which matched those found in her apartment. Notably, 3 other apartments on Dana's floor were empty on the night of her murder, and her roommate was out for the night. This led to speculation that whoever was watching Dana had been doing so for some time, as he knew the comings and goings of those in the building well enough to plan his assault accordingly. Authorities determined that the unidentified individual had gained access to Dana's apartment through a kitchen window that faced the area where he surveyed her. Despite managing to establish all of this, and despite interviewing dozens of individuals and following hundreds of leads, investigators simply could not identify the culprit behind Dana's horrific murder. In 1991, a third party came forward with a tip. The third party relayed information divulged to them by a man who would not speak with the police because he was a wanted criminal. Investigators learned of a possible suspect who was a heating contractor in 1987. It was noted that he would have been familiar with the rooftops near Dana's apartment due to his work. The suspect was further described as being 5'10" and white with dark curly hair. He drove a gold or bronze Pontiac Trans Am with stripes. Though investigators pursued this line of inquiry, nothing seems to have come from it, and it's unclear if the individual was ever identified. Then in December 2003, investigators received an anonymous letter. Dana's case had been dormant for years, and it seemed like finally there was a break in the case, a chance for law enforcement to pin down a suspect once and for all. While the letter did mention the names of 2 individuals, detectives have been unable to connect them to Dana or her case. Authorities asked the letter writer to step forward so they could question them further about some of their statements. But it doesn't appear that they ever did. Dana's case is still unsolved. If you have any information about her death, you can contact State College Police at 814-234-7150. Kelly Nolan. On June 22, 2007, 22-year-old Kelly Nolan, a student at the University of Wisconsin, went out for a night of drinking with a group of friends in her town of Madison. Notably, Kelly had a history with alcohol, often relying on it when her emotions were challenging. She had lost her father in 2006, and just a month before her disappearance, her stepmother passed away. Between 2004 and 2007, Kelly was convicted of drunk driving twice, which led to her license being suspended. She also spent 14 days in county jail for one of these offenses. But on the night of June 22nd, Kelly was determined to have a good time. Later in the night, her friends were ready to go home, but Kelly wanted to keep partying, so she split from the group at around 11:30 p.m. Kelly remained at a bar named the Lava Lounge on West Gilman Street, about half a mile from her apartment, where she continued talking with a young man she'd met. The young man would later reveal to investigators that he didn't know Kelly, but they'd hit it off at the bar and talked for a good portion of the night. According to this unidentified individual, he was going to walk Kelly home because she was being harassed by another patron who was possibly a man she knew. Tom Paris, another bar owner and the employer of the young man who was talking to Kelly that night, recalled the guy was giving her the creeps. Before they went home, though, Kelly asked the young man to wait while she used the restroom. She was seen shortly afterwards interacting with the man who'd harassed her that night. Tom Paris observed they were both very drunk, and he admits he was stupid to have left her there when he saw her talking to that guy again outside, but he assumed they were friends. This was the last time the young man saw Kelly. After he came forward to the police, he provided them with a DNA sample and underwent polygraph testing. Both his house and car were subject to extensive searches, but investigators found nothing. He has been cleared of involvement in Kelly's disappearance. Kelly called her sister in the small hours of June 23rd while still at the bar, but failed to return home that night. She was never seen or heard from again. The 22-year-old's body was discovered several weeks later on June. It was located in a wooded area on the property of an elderly woman in the 4700 block of Schneider Drive in Oregon, Wisconsin, about 10 miles from where Kelly lived in Madison. Investigators believe that she died where she was found, and a post-mortem revealed that Kelly's cause of death was blunt force trauma to the torso, which led to bone fractures. There is some speculation that she was hit by a vehicle on purpose, although this doesn't appear to have been confirmed to the media. Kelly's case has been at a standstill since 2007, though there have been attempts to reinvestigate it over the years. When she was last seen, she was wearing jeans and an emerald green scoop neck top. Investigators are looking to speak with the witnesses who saw her on the night of her murder. If you have any information about Kelly's case, you can call the Madison Area Crime Stoppers at 608-266-6014. Tammy's Wiki. In the days before 21-year-old Tammy Zwicky's disappearance, she was having trouble with her car. A student of Grinnell College in Grinnell, Iowa, Tammy had spent her summer studying in Madrid, Spain. As the summer break neared its end, she and her brother left their home in New Jersey for a road trip back to their respective schools. They would stop off in Pittsburgh to visit family and then head to Evanston, Illinois to drop off Darren at his university. Tammy planned to continue the trip alone back to Grinnell afterwards. However, during the trip, Tammy's white Pontiac failed them several times. At one point, Darren believed he'd sorted out the issue, and they arrived in Illinois on August 22nd, 1992. After staying with a friend overnight, Tammy prepared to go on her solo trip. Darren checked her engine one final time before waving her off. Tammy didn't make it far before the Pontiac began having trouble again. Over 60 witnesses saw her looking under the hood of the vehicle that afternoon at mile marker 83 on Interstate 80 in central Illinois. According to authorities, around 26 cars stopped by to check on the 21-year-old during this time. Tammy never made it to Grinnell. She was due to contact her parents and let them know she'd arrived safely, but she never did. And since they failed to reach her, they reported her missing. By the time the police began looking into the disappearance several days later, however, her car had been towed and could not be tested for fingerprints due to a chain of custody failure. Still, the vehicle showed no signs of a struggle, and inside the car, her handbag and camera remained. Soon, eyewitnesses began to come forward. An Iowa truck driver named Robert Bullington told investigators that he'd seen Tammy get into a gray Chevrolet Celebrity with a male driver. He reportedly spoke with the driver, who said that Tammy's car had overheated. Bullington subsequently advised the man to stop at a truck stop in LaSalle, but no witnesses could place Tammy at the truck stop. Other witnesses placed a tractor-trailer truck next to the Pontiac when she was last seen at around 3:10 and 4 o'clock that afternoon. The truck has been described as having a faded rusty orange strip around the center, while the driver was dark-haired, white, around 6 foot tall, and between the ages of 35 and 40. Tammy's body was recovered on September 1st, 1992. She was badly decomposed and on the side of a rural stretch of Interstate Highway 44 in Lawrence County, Missouri. She was identified through dental records and still wore the clothing she had on when she vanished. Her body was discovered by a trucker who had pulled over to the side of the road, stating at different times that he had done so to urinate, or to pull tarp over the truck bed in preparation for the rain. He noticed a foul smell upon exiting his vehicle and soon found the remains. Tammy had been wrapped in a red blanket and had been stabbed 7 to 8 times. Her postmortem noted that the wounds had been made in a circle around her heart, which was most unusual, and that they'd been made using a small, sharp object which had led to internal bleeding. Though her clothing was intact, some reports, including one from the FBI, that Tammy was sexually assaulted before her death. Her watch was missing from the scene. It played the tune of Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head and had a green umbrella on its face. Investigators have theorized that Tammy was killed elsewhere and that the perpetrator drove her across Illinois and into Missouri before dumping her body 500 miles from where she vanished. In the days following the discovery of the body, a task force was established made up of 14 investigators who were a mix of local authorities and FBI agents. In the subsequent weeks, they identified several suspects, the most notable of which was Lonnie Bierbrot, a trucker and convicted felon who was out on parole at the time of Tammy's death. He was questioned in early 1993, and investigators discovered that he had gifted his wife with a watch that looked similar to the one missing from Tammy's body. Furthermore, he was identified by a witness as the man she saw near Tammy's Pontiac on the day of her disappearance, and he lived not far from where the body was located in September. However, he could never be linked physically to the case. The watch he reportedly gave his wife was never recovered, and he died in 2002. Several other suspects came and went, but all of them were ruled out. For decades, the case has been almost dormant, although podcasters, armchair detectives, and Tammy's family have all been attempting to look for answers and shed light on the case. In 2020, serial killer Clark Perry Baldwin was arrested. Baldwin was responsible for the murders of 3 women between 1983 and 1997 across the states of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada. Following his arrest, a retired investigator suggested Baldwin could be responsible for Tammy's death because her killing fits the profile of his previous murders. However, law enforcement has stated that he is not considered a suspect in the case. Tammy's case is still unsolved. If you have any information about her murder, you can call the Illinois State Police at 815-726-6377 or the FBI Chicago office at 312-421-6700. Tips can be submitted anonymously to the FBI at the website tips.fbi.gov. And there you have the facts. Please leave a comment down below with your own thoughts and speculations. And remember to like this video and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for watching. Stay alert, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.